Okay. Well, hey, I'm glad everybody's back. It feels like I'm back amongst family and friends again, being here with you at this at the Media Roundtable. And my name is James Hawthorne. I'm the festival organizer. This is the fourth year of our film festival, of our festival period. And just as Kelly talked about, we've been doing this. This is our fourth year. And we're fortunate to have a fourth year because, as most of you guys know, if you've ever tried to do a festival of any sort, money is always the primary objective. It takes money to make these things happen. And we've been fortunate this year and years past that the city of Arlington has really supported us, and we've gotten community support in terms of monetary support in order to do the things that we're doing. So we're happy. We feel like we're growing from that standpoint. We're getting a lot of support in the community to do this thing, and I think it's a needed thing for the Arlington community. And so I'm just so happy that financially we're still in a position to do the things that we do. About this year's festival, I'm excited anyway about the fact that we've really added a great music component to the festival. In the years past, that's kind of been our Achilles heel, if you will. We wanted to stand up the music side of the festival, and so I think that we've been able to do that this year with the adding the Arlington Music Festival, which was a festival in and of itself. We've been able to add that and bring it under our umbrella, and we have somebody here to talk about the music portion and all the excitedness that we feel about that opportunity going into the festival. And then if I cheat here and look at my note, talk about the art festival that we have this year, again at the Arlington Museum of Art. And it's a collaborative project with the Fort Worth Museum of Art that we're doing, and the name of the exhibit is Red. And it's kind of an exhibit that is in solidarity for the people who are suffering with HIV and AIDS. And so it's kind of a first of its kind of collaboration with the Fort Worth Museum of Art and the Arlington Museum of Art. And so I've seen a couple of pieces, and it's really quite interesting. So I would encourage people as well to go there and check out the art pieces associated with that piece of the festival. So we're happy. I'm happy. I'm just excited, and I'm excited for a number of reasons. As some of you in the room already know, COOLEY High is my all-time favorite movie. And so I'm excited this year that we're able to bring that into the festival along with Mr. Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, who's one of the stars of that film, able to land him and come in to talk about the project. I've talked to him earlier this week. He's excited about coming in and talking about this film. And I just can't say enough about COOLEY High and what it has meant to me, and be able to bring that film and bring Lawrence Hilton Jacobs in to talk about that project. I'm just really, really excited about.
Well, do talk about why you're excited about it, what it means to you, because you were in high school when it came out, right?
Yeah, I was in high school. I was in high school in 1975. And so, at that time for me, being a high school kid, and this film was set as a period piece set in the 60s, but it was about high school kids. And I had never seen, at that time anyway, I had never seen a group of African American kids my age in the movies on a big screen. And I remember sitting in the audience, and I could identify with every single character. He was somebody that I knew at my school.
Oh, wow.
Including me. I knew which one I was too, And so, it was just a real moving experience for me at that time. And I just remember leaving the theater thinking they finally made a movie that I feel like that I was really a part of, or could really relate to in a way that I hadn't related to other movies at that time. And so I think for a lot of people my age, they feel that connection to that movie. And so I'm just really excited to to have that, be able to land that film and land one of the stars here to come talk about it. So just something really special to me. And I think it will touch a lot of people in that way. And so we plan to talk about that a little bit, about what COOLEY High meant to the African American community during that time. It was interesting that after I decided to bring that film here, I saw where they did the exact same thing in Los Angeles. They actually brought Michael Schultz, Glenn Turnman, and Mr. Jacobs back to LA to talk about that film and the impact of that film. And they wrote a pretty nice piece about it that I was really impressed with. So I'm excited about that. I'm just excited again this year to the films that we were able to curate for this particular festival are just phenomenal, and I say that, it sounds like I say that every year, and every year, I think, okay, this is probably the best that we're gonna have right here, and then the next year I get another set of films, I go, man, these are even better than the ones last year. And so I think it speaks to the growth that we are able to experience with the film portion. And there were a number of films that really tugged at me, but I think that's the cool thing about independent film. They often go places and tell stories that maybe you don't see them all the time in those other movies that have a lot more dollars behind them. So some of these stories, they're very unique in the way that they tell stories and the way that they interpret stories. And that's what I love about independent film. And I know I was sitting here thinking about, of all the films that we have, it was a few of them that kind of stand out to me. One was a story called The Last Kids, and this film was the filmmaker who came up with this project. Her I believe it was her nephew, who was suffering from hearing loss. And they brought him back. He's back to Texas, and he was getting ready to go to school, and he was really struggling with his hearing loss. And so she helped him with that by encouraging him to write about it. And so he wrote about it, and she turned that into a film, and made him the star of the film, a little 12-year-old kid, and all of his little friends in the neighborhood were all the actors in this movie. And so it was really, it was just awesome to see somebody turn that type of an issue with this child into a film that he wrote himself, and turn it into a film that we'll see on at the Studio Movie Grill, on the big screen come next weekend. And so I know she's going to bring him in and several of the kids who are acting in that film. And for us to be a vehicle or platform, to be a vehicle to help bring that type of a story to a big screen and have an audience see it, it's just really impactful to me to be able to do that. And there are several films that really come to mind that I really like. One is that we're going to do on Friday night, Purgatory, and I know we have the producer of that film here to talk about that film, so I won't steal her thunder. I'll let her talk about that film, but it was really, really well shot, and I really thought a lot about that film. There's another film called Everyone Calls Me Ori. It's a film out of Venezuela, and it talks about a teenage girl, I believe. She's 12, 13, somewhere in that age range, but she's suffering with vitiligo. And the way that they do this documentary and tell the story through her and how she deals with that, and it, it's not something that something that she struggles with. It's something that she's overcome, and it really talks about her journey from her perspective in her words, and you get to follow her around and see how she deals with that issue and how she's turned that into a positive for her. So I really like that. We'll also have, I know Yaki Smith is in, he'll be here to talk about his films, but we have a couple of his films, Heavenly, his new one, which again, I'll let him speak and talk about it. And then Wolf, that was an award-winning film that he also made that we'll have Saturday night. And so there are just a lot of different films in this festival that really have me geeked, I guess. I'm supposed to be out running the festival, but I'm gonna try to sneak in I'll say this too. I watch all the films every year. I mean, I do, but this is the first year that I've really gone back to my computer and just played the film over again, and just I was entertained by watching some of these films, and so it just really speaks to the level of the projects that have been submitted. And I know Michael's here, and we have the filmmaker here to talk about Alora, and I'm sure they'll talk about that too. But that was another one that I've looked at 3 times, and so I have a number of films in the festival that are like that really just have me excited, and I think that the community will be impressed with the quality of films, the number of films, and everything else associated with the films that they see. And I'm hoping that through this experience doing the media roundtable that the word will get out about what an impressive program that we have, and it's something that the Arlington community really should come out and see. And so, I wanted to do this. I told Kelly a long time ago, me doing this festival was just my way of, well, let me back up. I was a police chief. I was assistant police chief in Arlington for a number of years. And when I retired from police work, at that particular point in time, and really now, there's a lot of divisiveness in the community. And I remember going to a festival. It was a Black Film Festival in Dallas, Texas Black Film Festival. And I was sitting in the audience, and I looked at the diversity in the audience, and I thought, man, this is cool, and it seems like at that particular point in time, when people are caught up in watching the story, watching the film, they forget about all those other things that we tend to take along with us, in our daily lives, and we get caught up and we escape, I guess, into the movie, into the story, and I just really felt like that was something that our community needed in Arlington, a mechanism, a way to escape and get away from some of the divisiveness and some of the divided conversation, and so I was, to me, in my own small way, I can't change the world, but I can do something about the world that's around me. And so I tried to create a mechanism or a vehicle for just a minute anyway, for 30 minutes, maybe an hour, or maybe 10 minutes. People can forget about all of these other things that exist that seem to drive us apart, and come together in a festival, talk about a movie, talk about a story, and really be one as one community, as one people, and so that's what I tried to create with this experience, with the festival. And you can escape in film, in the story. You can escape with music. People come together, dance. We come together as a community, and that's what I would like for our community to do. And hopefully, what I'm doing, we can replicate that in other areas of the city. Other people will want to create those kind of opportunities to have people come together, and we forget about color, we forget about race and all these other things, and we just come together as people, because that's what we are. We have more in common than we do, apart. So that's my idea about the festival. I know I get asked that question, you're a police chief, what do you know about film? I know nothing about film. Absolutely nothing. I just know I like it, right? And I like it or I don't like it. So, I don't know all the technical aspects of it, and I don't know that I'll ever know that. I'm learning, through this experience. I know some of the more technical pieces of it. But I'm in it like everybody else who pays a ticket to come. I'm in it for the entertainment. I want a good story, and I want to be entertained by the story, and I want to learn. I want to learn something that I didn't know before. And I think the independent films that we offer an opportunity for people to learn and experience and have stories told to them that they wouldn't ordinarily see anywhere else.
Where did your journey begin this year? When you started looking for films and stuff, where did your journey begin? Because you've been doing this for several years. You've kind of learned some of the tricks of the trade. Where did it begin this year for you? And kind of take us through the process this year.
Yeah, that's a good question, because in years past, I throw my net out through Film Freeway and have submissions there. But I really thought this year, I needed to put myself out in the film world a little bit more. I'm in the police business, so I know all of that business, but I need to put myself out there in the film world and talk to filmmakers and people who are kind of in that industry. And so I did a little bit of that this year. And I think by doing that, maybe seeing my face or just seeing the name Frame4Frame offered people an opportunity to be exposed to us. They didn't know about us. We're a small festival. And so that offered an opportunity for people to get to know us, and for me to make some inroads in some places that I probably ordinarily wouldn't have been. Start making meetings with the Dallas Producers Association and, just stuff like that we have here locally. And I got some submissions from people that I think in the past may not have known about us. And so saw some of that happen. So that's kind of how I got started. I tried to start early. In January, I made myself part of Best of Festivals. And so we did that whole thing, hoping to get the word out about who we are, and that we're a serious contender. And I say contender, not that we're in competition with anybody, but we are a serious festival. And we'll never be one of the big festivals. I don't think. Maybe we will one day. I don't know. But I don't see myself there. I don't see myself competing with Diff, a Lone Star, anybody like that. We're our own little thing. And I know one of the filmmakers last year had a film in our festival. It was our Friday night film, and he told me. He said, "Hey, he came in from California." And he was talking about the festival. He said, "Man, this is really, really neat." He said, "My film played in Diff this year." I said, "Okay." He said, "There's probably 10 people in the audience." He said, and so as a filmmaker, he said, I go to Diff and I need to go there. I need to go to Sundance. He said, but when you go to those bigger festivals, you tend to get lost. And nobody really sees your film. You're just one of several hundred. He said, and I like the appeal, and I like the feel of this festival. He said, because I came, he said, and my film played, and instead of 10 people in the audience, there are 100 people in the audience. And I get to hear people and see them interact with my film. He said, and that's what I want as a filmmaker. And he said, so I like that experience. He said, keep it small, James, keep it small. And he said, because people really like the individual attention they get to the filmmakers, and we try to make the filmmakers feel special. We want them to enjoy the experience and feel like that we do, make them feel a little special in this whole experience, because that's what it's about. The filmmakers who do this on little or no money, and they, suffer through the trials and tribulations of trying to figure out how I'm going to put this project together, how I'm going to make it work, and there's no funding available. Hey, will you be in my film? I don't have any money for you to do it, but I need an actor, and that's part of the deal, with an independent film. And so if, there's something that we can do at that time to make the people who act in the film, make the people who produce those kind of movies, make them feel special through this process, then I think, that's a good thing. The first year that we did the festival, I remember one of the fathers of one of the filmmakers walked up to me and he said, hey, I really like what you did for my son. And I said, well, what did I do for your son? He said, he had given up on film. He had been trying this for many years, and he was done. He said, then he got a call from you. You accepted his film into your festival. And he came, and he said, and I've been talking to him. It played, and he said he's rejuvenated all over again. He's got a passion to reach, I guess the fire had been rekindled somewhat, and now he wanted to go back and start that. He said, I want to thank you for what you did for my son. He said, because I wanted him to continue on that journey. He said, and just having the opportunity to participate in a festival meant the world to him, and it's kind of rekindled his fire. And and that's kind of what I want to do. So that's a long way to answer your question.
I have a second question for you.
Okay.
You talked about police work. You were the PIO for Arlington during some very high-profile cases. How could you kind of touched upon the divisiveness of where we are in society today? What would your advice be to other police departments who want to incorporate film into their community policing efforts and organizations?
Yeah. Well, I think in police work we're as good as the story that we tell about ourselves. It's all about the way we tell our story, and so there are opportunities out there for police departments to lift the curtain, if you will, and have a camera come behind scenes for people to see what goes on. And I'm not talking about cops, where they go out and you see them arresting folk. That's not what I'm talking about, But actually come behind the scenes and hear some of the conversations that take place. To see the people side of the police business, if you will, because people don't necessarily get to see that side of the business very often. And so I think there's opportunity, and I think in police speak it would be training opportunities where we could create maybe small vignettes, 30-second vignettes that we could put in front of the troops that addressed particular issues or whatnot, and vice versa. We could get those in front of the community. And I think it would be an opportunity for the community to learn and for the police to learn from that experience.
What would your advice be if, like, Chicago police wanted to start hosting, a movie night for their community? What would your advice be to those police departments that want to incorporate, a miniature-sized film festival or film night into their community policing work?
I tell them to go for it. What you're going to hear from police departments is that's not what we do. That's not my job. That's not police work. But in many ways, it is police work because the more relational that we can be as a police department and develop relationships and cultivate those relationships and have those relationships turn into more than just connections, but true partnerships. So that the community feels like they're a part of the department, and the department feels like it's a part of the community. I think then that's how we increase trust, and people get to see us as not just police, but just as people who live in the community.
So just go for it.
Just go for it. Just go for it. I was in a unit. I was over a unit for the Arlington Police Department. It was kind of an experimental kind of thing where my job was community support, and so that we were trying to address crime or tackle crime from a different way, taking away the opportunity for the calls to exist altogether. In previous jobs we were trying to get there faster, do better detective investigations to solve crimes, but if we could create partnerships and opportunities to take away the opportunity for the crime to exist at all, by leveraging those partnerships, that's another way to reduce crime. And so yes, I would tell them to go for it. You just never know, and you may see yourself in a role that is non-traditional, because that's a non-traditional way to address crime, but I think you should absolutely go for it.
So we're going to transition now. James, you stay there. This is Vivian Polilov. Come have a seat for your purses.
Thank you. You want to double check my phone?
Oh, okay. So Vivian is, she's a publicist on the music side of things, and so she's going to talk about the music side. So if you could just hang out there.
I'll hang out right here.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so will you tell, just tell kind of how Jim and all of the music, the music festival side of it came in to work directly with Frame4Frame.
Okay, absolutely. So my client, Jim Austin Online, is based in Fort Worth, and so annually we've been doing a Arlington Music Festival. I believe this is the third year for us to do the music festival, and so the timing coincided with Frame4Frame, and it's just a natural fit. I mean, you know, some of the best film festivals in the world, they combine that element of film and music so that you get a really full artistic experience out of the whole overall event. So Jim is very passionate about music. He's been promoting shows for many years here in the Dallas, Fort Worth primarily area, Fort Worth and Arlington. And so to be able to join James and make the festival, you know, bigger, better, and to really be a part of what he's already established so beautifully in Arlington, it just seemed like a really natural fit to become a part of it. So the music itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so on September 22nd, we have Joe McBride and the Texas Rhythm Club, so that'll be a really great night of music. All of the shows take place at the Arlington Music Hall. So, and then we also have Soul Patrol happening on September 20th, and that has Tom Braxton, which is a fantastic jazz musician here, but he tours all over the world with some of the biggest names in jazz. And then also Larry Braggs, who was the lead singer for Tower Power. He's just a vocal phenomenon. He's such an amazing performer, has such an incredible voice. And Blake Aaron, a really hot artist that I believe we brought up from Austin for this. So it's just going to be a really great night. Two great nights of music. People can come out and enjoy and incorporate that into their film viewing schedule. And so we're really excited about the partnership and excited to be part of Frame4Frame this year.
You know, one of the things that we say about the music is going to be so hot Friday, we got to take a break on Saturday to rest and come back and do it again on Sunday.
Exactly. So, you know, it's great to be able to present film and music of this caliber right here in the North Texas area, you know. So we know that there are other cities around the world that are bigger and, you know, are doing more things, like you were mentioning, in the way of film production and music and festivals and things like that. But I think that in North Texas, we've managed to really develop a wide array of talent and a wide array of these kinds of activities and concert events and film events, and, you know, really made our own imprint on the map when it comes to those sorts of things. So, you know, right here, right at home, 30 minutes that way, maybe 45. You know, it's going to make for a really nice rounded out weekend of arts and entertainment.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now, with regards to the film, how many films do you have this year?
I have 26 films. Yeah.
And that's including shorts, micro shorts, and features.
And what's the gamut of genres for?
Oh, we have, from long narrative features to micro shorts, to documentaries, animations, short films. So we have the whole 9 yards. We have
And
everything.
documentaries.
Oh yes,
as
documentaries.
well.
I forgot to mention
Yeah.
that. Yes, we have documentaries. We have short docs and narrative docs. So, you know, we have the whole gamut of the whole spectrum of films represented at the festival.
And how many different countries are represented? Because we have several local.
We have several local. I believe we have films from at least 5 different countries that will be represented in the festival. So that's impressive to me.
Yeah,
Because
on 26 especially.
Yeah, because I think we've had maybe 2, maybe 3 different countries before, but this year we have up to 5 countries represented. So our reach is kind of growing, and so that's a good thing. Yeah. And and I'll add one more thing. Some of this to make sense. In the years previous, I've really kind of only been responsible for the film portion of the festival. Last year, they handed me the mantle and said, hey, James, we want you to do everything. We want you to do the music. We want you to do the art as well. And obviously, being a full-time police chief, I can't do that all by myself. And so I reached out to Jim, who I knew had a music piece already. And we continued our collaboration with Chris. And so in years past, I know I've only come here to talk about film. But this year they elevated me with a bigger hat, and so
You're wearing it well.
I'm trying.
Even though you left it home.
For the music portion, was there a particular theme this year that you guys wanted to go with in picking the artists and the genres, or?
No, I mean, I really liked the jazz piece, and I talked to Jim about that before we made the decision to come together. He had a jazz piece, and I think jazz works well. I do think that we'll want to expand that next year. So we'll look at how it fits this year and how well it works, and then we'll look at kind of expanding of what we might need to tweak, going forward.
Because with COOLEY High and the artist from Tower of Power, that was around the same same genre and the same.
Oh yeah, well and Larry Braggs was also lead singer for the Temptations, and so if you do, you remember COOLEY High, the 60s, the Temptations were represented quite well in that film.
Let's talk about the logistics. So the music portion is at
Arlington Music Hall.
And you get tickets.
You go to arlingtonmusichall.net for tickets, and then there's a phone number as well that people can call. That's 817-923-9305. So either way, people will be able to get their tickets for the music festival.
Mm-hmm.
And James?
Studio Movie Grill at Lincoln Square is where the films will be taking place, and go to frame4frame.org, and you can see all the information about the tickets, films, and everything else will be on that website.
And just to jump in here, the film portion, Frame4Frame, I think, does a very unique job of having film blocks, so that you can. We have 5 film blocks of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's in one theater. So you're not coming to compete with, missing out on another film. But the film blocks include shorts and features, as well as some micro shorts. So you're getting a full little sort of spectrum right then of the film block. And each film block is $10.
Each film block is $10, with the exception of Friday. Friday's film block is $20, but the rest of the film blocks are $10. So each film block is 3 hours, and so in that 3 hours, we try to give you a representation of every type of film that we have to offer inside of that 3-hour block. And so for a $10 ticket, we believe that's a great value to get just a representation of every type of film that the festival offers. So I think it's a great value.
Mm-hmm. And then the film festival pass is $50.
Yeah, $50. And so why would you just want to pay $10 for a 3-hour block when you can buy a $50 pass and
see them all?
And see them all, right?
Does anybody have anything else that before we wrap up? Got about 5 minutes before we wrap. Is there anything?
Question about COOLEY High. You're a police chief at a school district, and you deal with young people all the time. Do you think kids these days could relate to the characters in the storyline in COOLEY High?
I think everybody can relate to the characters in the film COOLEY High. I mean, I watched the movie again, not surprisingly, the other day, and so I think it's still the storyline, the topics, everything is still timely. And so I think everybody can relate to that story. My technical director, Tim Perry, was with me. We were watching it at the theater, and he said, "Man, I've never watched this film." He said, I can see myself on the screen, I said, "Tim, you're white." He said, "But I still see myself." I said, "Okay." All right.
we all share the same experience because
Absolutely.
we live in this country. You know?
We live in this country, and George hit the nail on the head. I mean, even though, and that's what I think about that film. It transcends color and everything because everybody sitting there can relate to the experience, and so I mean that's why it's one of my favorite films. And you know. I'll take a line from police work when I was a 12-year hostage negotiator, right? And so experiences, everybody doesn't we don't all share the same experience, but we do share the same emotions and feelings. We all can relate to that. And so I think when you see the film, and most of the films that are represented in the festival, while you know you may not understand that particular story, but you can relate to the feelings that these individuals are going through, the disappointment, the loss, or the excitedness that they have, just dealing through a challenge. Everybody can relate to dealing with a challenge and working through it. And so with all of these stories, and I think that's the way that it is with film, I mean, we can look at all of these films and all think about different things that we've experienced in our own lives, and it transcends race, color, and all the other things. So I'm glad that y'all brought that up because that's truly why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
You know, and I think COOLEY High, that movie, for me anyway, represents that very well.
And it'll be great to pass it on to a next generation too, because I know my aunt, they passed it on to me and my cousins. Like, you had to watch COOLEY High, you had to watch Riverbend. You know, there are just some of these great black movies that you had to watch, you know, if you were in you know, a family of color. And so now I hope that with Frame for Frame, there will be a younger, I don't have kids, so. But I'll make my nieces and nephew watch it at some point. But that, you know, that you can expose it to, though, also through the film festival. So that would be
I
great.
think it's perfect timing, especially with Dolomite coming out. You know, people are going to want to rediscover black exploitation era and all those movies.
Right.
So it's perfect timing.
Yeah, you know, and having lived through that, you know, for me, you know, when I was a kid, my mom dropped us off at the movie theater on Sunday mornings, and so that was the black exploitation film era. So I saw all of them.
Wow.
That was my experience.